to Cindy's Library. This is Cindy, and today I'm going to tell you what I have read for the past week or so. So let's get to it. Remember last week how I'd gotten halfway through the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle? Well, I kind of finished it this week. And why not? Because they're wonderful. When you think of Sherlock Holmes, maybe The Hound of the Baskervilles. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's most well-known and beloved novel out of the four he did on Sherlock Holmes. But he's much more known for his short stories, and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is right where we are at. And there are indeed some great ones here. I mean, let's see. The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. Sherlock Holmes, I think it may be his only Christmas story. And he proves that he does have a heart. The Man with the Twisted Lip, with an interesting solution to that one. 5 Orange Pips, that one's rather sad. Let's see, The Red-Headed League, that is well known. A Scandal in Bohemia, where we meet the fascinating Irene Adler, who ever after Sherlock Holmes refers to as the woman. Adventure of the Speckled Band, what that means. Adventure of the Engineer's Thumb. So, yep, when people think of Sherlock Holmes, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is pretty much the classic of what they are thinking of. So this is done. Didn't finish anything else, but I did make good progress. Windsor Castle by W. Harrison Ainsworth. I am almost halfway through, and things are heating up. We haven't just had glimpses of the supernatural. It is starting to actively take a part in history. So that is interesting. The Brownings, Robert and Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I am almost done with Robert Browning's poetry in here. I'll probably finish today. I would say about 2/3 are love poems of one sort or another. We do have a few more about various topics, Italy, other poets, nature, but a lot of love poetry. Sorry, I had to pause that for a moment. And Wives and Daughters. I am over a sixth of the way through, maybe closer to a fifth. So, and maybe we'll get to be a fourth of the way through today, if I am lucky. I managed to get through the next section of Dracula, so good, over a fourth of the way through. A third, maybe. Yeah, I would say, well, maybe not quite a third, but definitely a fourth. So we'll see if I can keep up with this for the Literary Life podcast. And I forgot book group. When I was talking about what I was reading, my book group is doing The Secret War of Julia Child by Diana R. Chambers, and I'm almost 50% done with that. So I won't say I'm absolutely loving it yet, but it is keeping my interest, and I will say I am enjoying it more than about 80–90% of historical fiction that I usually read. This, well, you probably have heard of Julia Child. Uh, Learned French cooking and shared it with America on TV, and probably had her own cookbooks and everything, teaching French cooking. Well, before that ever happened, she was uh, getting up there to be married. When the book starts, I think she's in her early 30s, and it is World War II. And she has a guy she could marry, uh, blue-blooded Californian royalty like she is basically, but she is not interested. So she went to DC to start working in espionage, and eventually manages to get herself sent, which she did want, over to India. And is it Ceylon? That's right next to India, where they had to move anyway. Yeah, she is involved with that. And she's also met, oh, I forget his first name, but Mr. Child, who we know she will eventually marry. That part's kind of interesting because at first it's kind of a Pride and Prejudice situation with Elizabeth and Darcy. We don't know what he is thinking, but she is completely misreading him, which is kind of fun. And of course, we get all the war background and things like that. And haven't read the author's note at the back, did read a note in the front. We do know that the general outline is true. It seems Julia Child actually did officially work with communications and paperwork and things like that, unofficially more in intelligence. We don't know very much about that, although a few things we probably would have been able to find out now, like where she was posted and things like that. So a lot of this is made up, which I don't know. Sadly, historical fiction just generally is not my favorite. I usually want to read the biography or the history book, but that's just me. And like I said, this is one that I have enjoyed more than most. And it helps that it doesn't feel modern, as in people are people, but it doesn't, but the author hasn't really put in anything that seems like what modern people would do these days, but not necessarily people back then would have done or thought in the same way. So I do appreciate that. Anyway, that's what I have read this week. How is your reading going? Are you loving Victober as much as I am? Or if you aren't doing Victober, are you loving your reading as much as I am? Thank you for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. Love to hear all about your reading if you'd like to share down below in the comments. So until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.